Hello and welcome to the Murder Media podcast, where we analyse and overthink true crime. I'm your host, Dr. Stella Marie Gaynor, and you can follow the Murder Media Project over on Instagram and Facebook at murdermedia81, and you can email me directly at murdermedia81@gmail.com. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by a very good friend of mine and colleague, Dr. Shellie McMurdo, and she's a lecturer in film. So, Shellie, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Hi there. I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
That's all right. One of the first people I thought about was like, who can talk about this for
Who can
longer
bore
than
you
we
about
need?
Ted Bundy?
Oh, we're done with Ted. No, we're never going to be done with Ted, are we?
Bullshit, Billy.
Billy bullshit. We love him. No, we don't. I'll edit that out. We don't love him. So what we're going to do then, I've got some questions for you. They're the same questions that I asked my mate Laura 2-3 episodes ago. I don't remember. And they're just conversation starters really to get us going. We might jump around the order of the questions. However it goes, we'll just see what happens. So let's get started then. So the first question is, where did your love/like, to maybe bring it down a peg, where did that start with true crime? And do you remember what you first watched or what you first read, or maybe even what you first listened to?
So with me, my mum was really, really big into true crime. And I remember growing up, she had a bookcase in the living room and she was obsessed with the Moors murders in particular. I think because of her age, she grew up in the 60s and, that was kind of the big true crime story, especially in England of the day. So she had lots and lots of books about it, lots of different books about it. They all had that classic kind of twofer mugshot photo. And I remember I couldn't read, but I used to get books out and kind of like a child does, like climb up and pull books out and just kind of leave them in places. And I remember my dad saying to my mum, are you sure you don't want to maybe put those a little higher in the bookshelf? Because she's 4 and, there's some nasty pictures in there, so maybe not. So that's the first kind of exposure I remember having to true crime. And then I was thinking about this earlier because I just think about true crime in general because of doing this today. And I know that my first favorite serial killer, quote unquote,
there we go.
was Jeffrey Dahmer. But I was trying to remember how I kind of came to him, but I don't actually remember how I did. I think it must have been something like I was a weird kid at school, as most of us were, and
why we're friends, right?
Exactly. And I was into horror films and into like metal, and basically any sort of thing that made me I was drawn towards things outsider kind of things. So metal music, Marilyn Manson in particular, horror films, especially super gory horror films. And I guess true crime was just like kind of a natural extension of that. But Jeffrey Dahmer, he was the first one that I became really interested in. And I remember my mum ordered from like the local library, which I guess many places don't have a local library anymore, but she ordered the book, The Shrine of Jeffrey Dahmer, because you just couldn't find it in the bookshops near us and they had to order it in. So she ordered that in for her, 11-year-old daughter.
Nice one, Mum.
And that was the first book I remember reading. I was really into the West Memphis 3, I guess because the age I was growing up in like the late 90s. Yeah. First thing I watched, I guess, I know it's not true crime, but I guess the first kind of bit of murder media I watched was Silence of the Lambs. And then I got really into that kind of thing, kind of like serial killer horror films.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you said it was my mum's books, because Laura said the same thing, that there was items in the house that you'd kind of surreptitiously go and look at, and you kind of knew that you weren't supposed to look at. And there's work on horror that's like that, isn't there? That when you were a kid, you'd creep downstairs and watch the horror film that was showing late night on TV with the sound down, because you knew you weren't supposed to watch it, and it had that sort of, I shouldn't be engaging with this stuff, but I really like it. I really want to.
A nice kind of like illicit quality to it that made it better.
Yeah, that made it. Again, I was into when I was a kid the metal-y stuff, the gothy stuff, the dark stuff, pretending to be a witch, doing all those kinds of things. Dahmer is an interesting one for many reasons. When the Dahmer story broke, it was 1992. I was 11, so I vaguely remember it happening, and I'm sure I remember a BBC News report about it because it was worldwide. And I do remember kids talking about it at school. So I think I would have been in the first year of secondary school, so I'd been in year 7. And I remember kids at school talking about it and it being like a joke. Is a joke the right word? But you know, when there's like a
Like a
fad.
pop culture thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a fad or a trend or of people just talking about, you know, Dharma's going to get you, or, you know, people who are eating meat in the cafeteria, then, you know, someone would crack a Dharma joke. And I remember that being a thing, rightly or wrongly, kind of laughing at it at the time. But maybe that's why I'm here now. But yeah, so it's funny that people of our age, so Laura is a year older than me, that we've all got similar cultural touchstones
Similar, like,
where this started.
entryways. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of similar-ish for everyone, depending on where your age range is. So you're saying that, you know, your mum remembers the Moors murders. I expect my mum would remember the exact same thing. And I remember I asked my mum, I don't know, a couple of years ago now, what she remembers about the Yorkshire Ripper case, and rather the manhunt, and, you know, all the billboards going up. And, you know, I was asking my mum, did it affect you and your going out and doing stuff? And my mum, she's like, God, you know, so far away, I don't really remember that much, but she definitely remembered it happening and it being something to consider, that you might not want to go out and go home on your own because, you know, that dickhead was around. Anyway.
I think it's weird though, like you have that, because I've always thought of it in terms of like my mum as well, like she like connections that you have to different places and different crimes that happen there, because, you know, I think true crime wise, everyone does tend to focus on the American ones, but in England, you know, and because from where you're from, Peter Sutcliffe, and from where I'm from, as I'm sure I've told you before, Dennis Nilsson, because my mum used to work in the bakery that Dennis Nilsson used to come into. So it's weird, kind of like regional interests as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so up in north,
up
in
north,
Manchester. It's Sutcliffe because he did murder 2 women in Manchester. And obviously we've got Dr. Shipman.
Yeah.
And with the Shipman story, that all happened in Hyde. And when I was between the ages of 15 to 18, the boyfriend that I had at the time, he lived in Denton, which is like the next little town next to Hyde. And he had mates in Hyde and in and around Tameside. And like Shipman was loads of their family doctor. And then another mate of mine, I won't name him, he said that his mate, he used to get a lift to school with his mate, do like a carpool, because they lived like, you know, in the countryside, essentially on the outskirts of Manchester. They did a carpool and Shipman would drive them to school sometimes. And, so it's just that.
Get in the car with Dr. Shipman.
But yeah, so you end up with these local connections, which on the one hand, I think is a natural thing for us to do. But on the other hand, it's really scary that everyone has a connection somehow to something that's gone, you know, this horribly awry, shall we say.
And I guess that's the thing about England being smaller than America. There's just far more likelihood that you're going to have some sort of, you know, whether it's a first degree connection or something else, just far more likely.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. So I know you're a big fan of true crime, which is, you know, why I asked you to do this. But is there any kinds of true crime that you don't engage with, and why? Like, is there anything that you're like, I'm not into that? Because for me, it's, I don't like unsolved mystery stuff. Like, I need to know the end.
You need to know, you have closure.
If you watch an hour of a documentary and then they're like, and we don't know, I'm like,
and they're still out there now, and you're like, great.
And also, that was an hour of my time. I'm not getting back. I need to know the answer. So that's what I shy away from.
I tend to shy away from stuff where animals being tortured was like a big bit of it. So Luca Magnotta, I find Luca Magnotta and everything around him kind of fascinating, because it was, you know, in a lot of my research that I did a couple of years ago, I was very into the real death websites and the shock websites.
Yeah.
So I remember that whole thing playing out as it kind of happened, and saw the video and stuff like that, which I wouldn't recommend anyone to go watch, but it's still out there. And because he kind of started with torturing cats and things like that, like anything like that really upsets me, and probably says a lot about me that I can sit there and watch people being butchered, but I can't watch a cat being suffocated. But the thing that was on Netflix, the Don't Fuck with Cats. Yeah. I found the beginning of that like really unsettling and really upsetting. I think that's it, really. I mean, I'm quite voracious in my true crime consumption. I can't think of anything that's off limits. I tend to go more towards the American, like the big kind of hitters. I'm always interested in finding out about people that I didn't know about. One thing that I stay away from, and it's not because it upsets me or anything, but I hate the endless churning out of content about true crime. And like you said, you know, the unsolved ones. My mum is still obsessed with true crime, and whenever I go to a house, she's got the true crime. I don't know what it's called anymore. I don't think it's called the True Crime Channel anymore.
Is it called True TV?
True TV, something like that.
There must, I think now there's more than one. Yeah.
And she'll always have it on. And it'll be like, you know, in this small town in the arse end of beyond in Southern America, this guy did this. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's just like this endless like scraping for more content.
That's interesting because, yeah. So if I'm going to watch something on Netflix, let's say, I do like it when they, and this will lead us into the next question, but I do like the big glossy documentaries, docuseries, dramatizations of the stories that we know, because, you know, there's lots of work done in the pleasure of storytelling and in the pleasure of hearing something that you know again. You know, have it being in the know is pleasurable. I'll only put up with stories about, say, a one-off murder that was just particularly bizarre for whatever reason if it's on a really short podcast. The Mr. Bollen podcast, can't say it, the Mr. Bollen podcast, try that again, and the Cult Leader podcast, they do a very good job of taking these weird one-off cases that are just like, how did that happen? Like what went on there? And it's a story, it's in and out, 20 minutes and it's done. And I really like those. But when it's sort of stretched over the Netflix style, where even if it's not serialized, they're doing this thing where they're coming back and just rehashing the same information that they just told you 10 minutes ago. And it's like, I know I'm still here.
Making a Murderer season 2.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my God. Yeah, I already know.
You
stop telling me the same thing. You were the one that told me. I was here. Stop.
Yeah, I was listening, I promise. I'm not an idiot. Anyway.
I promise I didn't doze off.
I wasn't looking at my phone. That does bring us to the next question then, which is, do you watch, listen, or read about the same cases over and over again? And why? And what do they offer? So, you know, we mentioned Dharma before. How many Dharma things are there? How many Bundy things are there? Do you return to it, and why? Because I definitely do. Let's hear that again.
I definitely do. Ted Bundy. So I came to Ted Bundy later. I'm sorry. So I think Dharma was kind of like, I was really interested in Dharma when I was like a teenager growing up. And I think there was a certain kind of, it wasn't just I'm going to like something that's kind of a bit edgy and like, I mean, it probably was because I was like 14, but I come to Ted Bundy like a little bit later. So probably not until I was like in my mid-20s, like late 20s, early 30s. And the number of books I have about the man, the number of films I've watched about the man, good and bad. And I had a phase where I just used to go on YouTube and type in Ted Bundy and watch like anything that I could watch about him, knowing what happened, knowing how it ends, knowing pretty much as you can know about it. But like you said, like the pleasures of knowing it and going back and seeing, you know, definitely more recently, there's been efforts like Falling for a Killer, which, you know, you wrote about, you know, is looking at it from a victim, but concentrating more on the victims more than the idea of the, you know, this great, like you know, the great genius man. It's like, he wasn't a genius.
He was a twat.
But yeah, he's the one that I go back to. And I think the reason I go back to him is partly because the pleasures of going back to a story that you know. That's probably the pleasure that I get from it.
Yeah.
Is just knowing how it ends.
True crime aside, I know I have like a stack of novels that I return to and I've read over and over and over again because it's easy. I don't have to think. I feel good for reading and, you know, not just watching another Netflix documentary. But, you know, there's a stack of books by my bed that when I get in bed, it's like, I just want to read for 5 minutes, but I don't want to.
Your comfort books.
Yeah. And, you know, none of them are very nice either. World War Z, for instance, I've read that so many times. It's falling apart in my hands. I need another copy. With the Bundy stuff, it's also interesting as well how all of my first forays into writing and researching true crime, murder media is Bundy. That's where I've started, because that's the one that I knew.
Yeah.
And I'd not forgotten about him, but I'd not really engaged with any true crime stuff for ages. You all know the story now. I was doing TV horror, did a PhD, wrote a book, got bored of it, decided to do something else. And it was as the Conversations with the Killer, the Ted Bundy tapes landed, and I was like, oh, fantastic, I'll watch that. And it was that, unfortunately, even though I have many issues with it, it was that reignited
your interest.
my interest, and that's why we're sat here. Bundy and Dharma are the two that I've got stuck into in terms of starting this project off, because I know them so well. So, and this sounds like a terrible thing to say, and it is a terrible thing to say, but those two stories, they're a safe place for me because I know them.
It makes sense. It makes sense. You know them inside out. And also, I guess because you probably got into true crime the same kind of age as I am, there's kind of like a nostalgic comfort in it.
There
almost
really is, and it's so weird.
Which is weird. And also, I guess those two, because I was thinking about like the true crime community on Tumblr, which I haven't delved into in a long time, but I imagine it's still going. I was very heavily into it at one point, I'm not gonna lie. I guess those two, they're kind of like, this is gonna sound awful, they're kind of like the rock stars of true crime.
Celebrities, yeah.
And both of them are good-looking, quote unquote, good-looking guys.
Big air quotes there.
You look at, John Wayne Gacy.
Ugh.
He ain't.
No.
And Richard Ramirez, he ain't.
Yeah.
So I think there's something about those two as well that, I mean, the David Schmidt book, the natural born celebrities that
I'm pointing that you can't see on this audio medium. I'm pointing to the book, which is there. But yeah, they work in front of the camera.
Yeah, especially Ted Bundy. The amount of on the true crime community. The amount of gifts and stuff that people do of like all sparkly and love hearts. It's like, yeah, that kind of works.
Oh God, I mean, yeah.
My mission today is to make you retch or cringe.
I think Ted Bundy and his sort of the very odd position that he has. With his smug little smile and his little laugh. Laugh. So I rip your scrawny little head off. Anyway, is it a My Favorite Murder, or is it an All Killer No Filler? It might be All Killer No Filler, where they're talking about how you got people like us listening, engaging with true crime now, and we think if Ted Bundy came at me, I could fucking take him.
Knock him out. I might be sure, but he wasn't that at all. If it was Ed Kemper, I'd be fucked.
Oh, fucking Bumblebutt himself. Jesus Christ. But Bundy's
just pick me up.
Bundy must have weighed about 7 stone.
Oh, yeah. I outclass him. I outweigh him.
But like, do you remember, what was it called? Celebrity Deathmatch.
Yeah,
we should do that.
I used to love Celebrity Deathmatch. Just a little plasticine Ted. You could just rip his head off and just flick it somewhere.
We both engage with the same cases over and over again. They offer a pleasure in knowing the story. So you mentioned that you do some of your research looking at the death websites and the gore websites and stuff like that. So I just added another question in to blindside you a bit here. Could you chat a bit about how true crime has come into your research a bit more, how you've engaged with it and how you've used it? Because the thing that springs to mind whenever I think of you and your research, I always think about the Sacrament and Jonestown, and I'm always like, yes, cults. I know you love a cult, and my friend Laura loves
I love a cult.
So could you tell our 6 listeners how true crime has been in your research, how you've engaged with it?
So yeah, Sacrament is probably one of the biggest. So my favorite film of all time is The Sacrament, the Ty West film, and that's all about Jonestown. And so I got heavily into that. Like probably, well, no, nowhere near as equal to my Ted Bundy books, but I have a solid little Jonestown collection going on. Anything to do with cults, Waco, I'm obsessed with. I'm still trying to think of a way that I can write about Waco, and I think the only way I can is if I write something about the film Red State, which I love anyway. So maybe
that's a great film.
Oh, it's such a good film.
Yes.
Carl Gallner. Anyway, sorry, I got really distracted. What else? So the Poughkeepsie tapes is so in the book that I did about found footage horror, I wrote about the Poughkeepsie tapes, which is framed like a true crime documentary about a fictional serial killer. That kind of so I did a lot of research on documentary, which we both know is a heavy, heavy theory
Oh God,
to engage
it's
with
so
and unpick.
boring.
Oh, it's so dry. It's so, so dry. So the Poughkeepsie tapes, that's got a really interesting story because it was made in 2007, but wasn't released until 2017, kind of officially. And there was kind of on the internet, on Twitter, people going, oh, is this actually real? It's like, of course it's not real. They're not going to put something on, they're not going to sell something that has someone disemboweling someone and putting someone's head inside their stomach. Like, chill out. And then the other thing that I did, so apart away from the found footage horror stuff, was this it was just a one-off chapter, and it was about American Horror Story and Tate, the character of Tate in the first season, who is kind of, there's strong shades of Columbine in there.
Mm-hmm.
Columbine I've always been obsessed with as well,
Yeah.
because I think because of our age, that we
Well,
were similar
exactly.
ages to the guys.
Yeah, it
Did it?
exploded. It was all over the news, and it was
Oh, it
relevant to us because it was about high school
our
kids.
age group. Yeah. And I seem to remember that was the first kind of 24-hour news story where it was just
Like rolling coverage. Yeah.
constant.
And
Yeah.
then the next one was 9/11.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Jesus, we grew up in a very scary, uncertain
I know.
time. Maybe that's why we're the way we are.
And also because it's all better now.
Oh God, it's only just got worse.
We're not rioting on the streets like every day.
Every day, like right now.
Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah, the true crime community. I did quite a lot of research into that, kind of joining different Tumblrs and stuff. And what I was trying to do in that was, I really wanted to write about the true crime community. And my way in was to write about how Tate, the character, had been adopted by the true crime community as kind of because the true crime community get criticized a lot for, glamorizing serial killing and idolizing serial killers, which I think is maybe a strand of what some of the people in that community do. I don't think it's the whole thing. And I think to dismiss them and what they do outright is just a bit daft. But I was kind of positioning Tate as, well, he's fictional. So he's a serial killer that you can look at and desire and have like almost like a pin-up. So yeah, that's kind of how true crime's factored into my research so far. Current research, I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to go back to true crime for a while, so I am living vicariously through you. No.
I'm going to keep dragging you back.
No pressure. No pressure.
Dragging you back. I will link your fan footage book in the show notes, and I'll also link to your the American Horror Story article as well, so people can go and find them. So the work that you did on documentary for your found footage book is proving invaluable to me because I could just quote you. So
because it's someone that's already gone through the pain.
Thank you so much, because oh my God, I was messaging you and our other friend Dr. Tom Watson about documentary, wasn't I, 3-4 months ago?
I mean, because he helped me, the stuff that he did helped me. So it's like we're just all passing on this like knowledge of like, please don't go through the pain I did. Have this.
Have this. I suffered. You don't need to. Yeah, and like the book suggestions that you two gave me, they were really, really helpful. But it just I don't know, what is it about studying documentary?
I think it's because it's so huge and it's been going for so long. Like if you look at something like, I don't know, reality TV, you can kind of go, all right, that kind of started here. There was kind of weird examples of it earlier, but around here is where it started. But documentary, I think it's because the history of it is so long and it's so vast and so many people have written about it. It's a really hard thing to get into and go, okay, who are the main people? Who are the main thinkers? And I think that's what makes it difficult.
Yeah, and from our point of view, it's that, right, I need some definitions, I need some parameters, and they just don't.
Who said this?
Don't seem to be there. And I'm finding the same thing when I'm looking at adaptation studies. That's all over the place, and all people seem to do in that, which is the same for all academic fields, but everyone's just rowing about how, well, that way of looking at it is really outdated, and now we look at this, and it's like, well, isn't it better to sort of take bits from everything and
do a bit of a magpie?
Anyway, so that's also making me want to fling books out the window. I promise I won't, because they're library books, but it's driving me insane. You've been into true crime forever, and you've done bits and bobs in your research. There's always true crime's having a resurgence. There's loads of it about, and it's like, well, there's just loads of media about, so there's more of everything at the moment, which is, on the one hand, it's great, and on the other hand, it's exhausting, and it's really hard to find things that are of interest. So with that in mind, given your solid, rich past with it and having done research on it, what do you think has changed with true crime, if anything? And have you seen any positive changes, negative changes? Have you seen any impact on other media? Like what's changed in the recent years?
I think the main thing for me that's changed is I remember growing up, if you wanted to watch true crime stuff, it was you went on channels and it was a little bit trashy.
Mhm.
It was a little bit like, even if it wasn't trashy, it was kind of perceived as trashy.
Yeah.
So, if there was going to be a new documentary on or a new drama on about Dennis Nilsen, say, it would either be on BBC and be very kind of like, I don't know what the right word is, kind of like very, very straightforward and very serious and very like, well, we're going to
Co-faced.
talk about this in serious ways and whatever. And then I used to kind of love like the American like Dateline,
Yeah.
like just super trashy. And I think Making a Murderer was probably the thing that showed people that you could do kind of like a quote unquote highbrow true crime thing, because I don't think it is actually that much different to the kind of sensationalist.
Not at all. It's just got
stuff.
better production values.
Yeah,
That's all
it
it
just
is.
it looks glossier. It's got that
Yeah.
Netflix gloss to it.
Netflix style, yeah. And
Yeah.
they do stamp a particular style on all their stuff, and you could hopefully read about that when I eventually get around to writing the book.
I think
so stylistically,
that's probably I think that. And then there seemed to be after that, just like we were saying earlier about sort of scrabbling around for content. Netflix is now, they've done Bundy, they've done Dharma to death. If he wasn't already dead, he'd be dead now.
Oh, he's dead.
They did the Richard Ramirez one. But they've done a Gacy one.
Yeah, they've got the Gacy tapes.
The Gacy tapes. And it seems now like, yeah, they are kind of scrabbling around for content. The things that I've seen kind of in my work, so like with teaching students, is it just made them far more aware that true crime kind of as a genre exists.
Yeah.
And, I teach a module where I do a true crime week, because we talk about national trauma and society and stuff like that. It's strange because a lot of the students are like, isn't it terrible? Isn't it terrible how we watch this stuff? And it's like, we've been doing this since people could tell stories. Like, this isn't new. It's just, like you said, it's just Netflix style.
Yeah.
It's not new though.
Just been made glossy, putting that sheen on it, that glossy sheen of it being high production values, having these so-called, it's like the Ted Bundy tapes and the Gacy tapes and the Dharma tapes. Like, it's like an attempt to elevate it slightly and to legitimate an interest in it, I think, because it has always had the trashy element to it. And also, and I've said this before, that it's been put in the box as women's things.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's not worth exploring, or it's not worth even really recognizing as a piece
it's not kind of like legitimate culture.
Yeah. And lots of the stuff that we both have engaged with over many years, all the horror stuff, that's still not entirely legitimized unless you talk about, elevated horror.
A24 horror.
Fuck off. People try and do it with that. It's the same thing happens with some of these true crime texts. I think they're tried to be pulled out and separated from the rest of the trash, from the rest of the stuff that's no good. And it's like, well, you're telling the same story. It doesn't matter if you wrap it up in a bow. You're either all right with it or you're not.
And also, some of these stories are inherently, I'm not saying that the crimes themselves are sensationalistic. I mean, I guess they are, but like something like Gypsy Rose Blanchard, it's like, how can you not sensationalize this?
Yeah, because
this is wild. Sensational. It's crazy.
Yeah. Now she's pregnant.
Jeez.
Yeah, I said this to Laura 2 episodes ago. Gypsy Rose is pregnant, and Laura's like, whoa. She's like, slow down, girl. Anyway.
Chill out. You've not got to fit all the life into a year. Chill out.
We've talked about the Netflix gloss. We've talked about the Netflix aesthetic. We've talked about it trying to sort of elevate itself out of the mud. Whether it works or not is up to you to decide. So do you think this deluge of Netflix documentaries, do you think it's adding anything to the genre? Is it giving us anything new, worthwhile, interesting, or not? Or are we done with the Netflix doc, do you think?
I'm in two minds, because my natural instinct was to say, yeah, it doesn't, we've done it now, guys, like probably find something new to scrape the bottom of the barrel with. Not that scraping the bottom of the barrel, not that true crime is scraping the bottom of the barrel, but find a different genre to kind of gut and exploit. That was my first instinct to say that, full well knowing that if another Ted Bundy documentary came on Netflix today, that's what I would be watching tonight. Yeah.
That's tonight sorted.
Night in with Ted. Ooh, no.
No. It is Polo next. And And his cardigans. It's
He's
like,
oh, no, I do like that cardigan though. I've got one very much like it. I'll give him the cardigan. The cardigan was nice. The roll neck's not so much.
the roll necks and the what they called?
Braces?
That's it, yeah. It's just like, oh God, it just grams me out. Like he's repulsive. So the question is the deluge of Netflix documentaries, does it add anything to the genre? I think it's added because I suppose I'd compare it a bit to what happened with The Walking Dead, which is that showed the rest of TV. There's a big audience here. You can spend a lot of money on it.
You can do this. And
they're loyal to this. Like, they fucking love it. They're not going to let it go. If you keep making them, they'll keep watching them. So I think Netflix added that as a strategy for everyone else to kind of jump on. Yeah. Because before the Netflix wave, I mean, I'd have to sort of do loads of timelines of when things were released, which is a job for me to do. And you can tell by
that's in your future
voice that I don't. So time consuming. But when I was doing the TV horror stuff, I had a big table of like looking at all the channels, looking at all the horror releases, and basically plotting it on a graph, and you can see where there's a spike of releases. Oh. So I would assume that the same thing has happened.
100%.
I think the thing that Netflix has added is it's shown TV makers
how profitable and how enduring this is.
That this is here. It's always had a fan base. The fan base is solid. The fan base is loyal. So I think it's done that as an industrial shift in terms of what it's done to, in any way, improve the genre. I don't know. I think that's possibly too subjective. You know,
and also maybe we won't see that until a couple of years time as well.
Yeah, because
see that kind of influence.
Conversations was what, 2018, 2019? I should know that, but never mind. So it's only at the most 5-6 years ago that I think the big let's all make this now because Netflix has done it. I think it's probably a bit too soon to properly reflect on that. But that's what
But that's what you're gonna do. That's in your future.
Yeah, yay! That's a fun day's work for me. Right, 2 more questions to go. Where do you stand on? You mentioned, the Schmid and celebrity and stuff before. So where do you stand on those scholars' points about serial killers having the same status as celebrities? Like, do you agree with that? Do you see that as a thing?
Yeah, I do. Like, by and large, I think if we're talking about what does celebrity mean? If celebrity means kind of instant recognizability, then 100%.
Yeah,
because students that I have are 18 years old. And I can show them a picture of Ted Bundy and they'll know who Ted Bundy is. And not just because I'm wearing a t-shirt of Ted Bundy on or whatever. I definitely don't have a t-shirt of Ted Bundy on, just so everyone knows. or a massive back piece tattoo of him at all. No, really, I don't. I feel like I have to prove myself now.
I'm going to neither confirm nor deny these allegations.
You've seen my tattoo on my back. It's not Ted Bundy. So it's Jeffrey Dahmer. That's not even funny, Shellie. Sorry, that's not. I'm sorry.
What she has is all down her spine, all the mugshots of all the big serial killers, and it runs alphabetically. So there's Bundy at the top.
It's how I learnt my ABCs. Anyway, if we're talking about celebrities being kind of instantly recognizable, then yeah, they are, because 18-year-olds, and probably because of this Netflix wave, recognize Ted Bundy, recognize Jeffrey Dahmer, recognize Richard Ramirez. I mean, and that's the way, if I think of the term celebrity, I think that means kind of instant recognizability, household name kind of thing. So I think they are celebrities. Yeah. In the same way that, if you say Mr Blobby to someone in the UK, then they know who you mean. If Mr Blobby is a celebrity, then they're celebrities. Yeah.
There's a connection I didn't see. So
I was trying to think of someone that wouldn't sue.
Well, me and Laura put Dahmer on the same level as Beyonce.
And I was just like, Mr Blobby, there you go.
You've got Bundy and Blobby. Oh my God. There's the name of the episode.
Blobby Bundy. That's really difficult to say. Don't try.
Say it 3 times and maybe one of them will appear. Don't know who's the most terrifying. Which will appear. I really like how you put that down to the definition of celebrity. So do they fit that definition? So if you take out any people and just look at the definition of what that means, then yes, they absolutely fit that household name, recognizable face. You might not know what they did, but if you show someone a picture of of Mr Blobby or Beyonce or Bundy, they all start with a B. Oh, if you show them those pictures, they'll know who it is. Maybe not necessarily what they did, or what they do, because Beyonce's still trucking. Then it's recognizable. So I like that. I like that answer very much.
Thanks.
Very good. So,
took me a while to get there, but I got there.
We got there in the end. Final question then, before I throw it out to anything you want to ask me. And I looked up then with a bit of fear in my face. What do we learn from true crime content? If anything, you might just say nothing. That'd be fine.
I think it's specific to women.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I'm going to say, which is, the podcast, or the podcast like the back of your hand. I don't. The one, fuck politeness.
Yes.
Where does that come from?
My favourite murder.
There you go. So I remember I bought one of my friends a little badge that says fuck politeness on it. And I didn't know. She listens to the podcast. I didn't know it was from that. I just saw it and thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I think that's maybe because I was thinking about what you said earlier. You spoke to your friend Laura, and it was her mum who had the true crime books. It was my mum that had the true crime books. And I think there's something in it that is almost like a social script. I don't know if that's the right term, but I watch, like, when I go to when I get my groceries at whatever shopping place I go to, and I come back to the car, if a van with like a side opening door is next to my car, I'm not getting in that side of the car, because I've seen enough stuff to know that someone's going to open that. I guess it's like it's a double kind of watching a lot of horror films and watching true crime stuff.
Yeah.
But I know that door's going to open and I'm going to get kidnapped.
Yep.
If I walk home at night, I will have my keys in between my fingers because someone's going to jump out of an alleyway and they're going to grab me. And I think the kind of what we learn from true crime, specifically as women, is I don't want to say like how not to get killed, because obviously it's not women's responsibility to not get murdered, it's men's responsibility to not fucking murder people. But like,
they stop doing it.
No,
just
so you have to kind of like be aware of stuff. And I think that's what it teaches people, not just women, like everybody. It teaches people, like, one, there are people like this out there that do fucking awful things. Two, this is kind of like what has happened in the past. These are ways that people have been murdered, raped, assaulted, whatever. These are some, and it allows you that kind of space to go, okay, if I was in that situation, what would I do? I mean, a lot of the time, I think, we'd like to think, oh, if Ted Bundy come up to me, I'd knock his block off, would we? Because we've been so taught to be kind and to be polite and to help people. Like, I'd probably get murdered in 2 seconds. I'd like to think I wouldn't, but I probably would. So I think, that's what it teaches us. It teaches us what has happened, what could happen, and what we could potentially do to stop it happening to us.
Like, it teaches us to just take a moment to assess the situation.
Like fairy tales, right? Like,
cautionary
don't go into the woods.
Don't go off with the man who's got a cast on his arm and says he wants to go on a fucking sailboat.
So why are you going to go on a sailboat, Ted? You're going to get your cast wet. Idiot. Oh yeah, IQ of the year. All right.
All right. What people are really going to believe is that I'm going canoeing with a broken leg. Okay,
Ted. Okay,
belly bullshit. Anyway, here's the thing that I think is particularly interesting, and Laura said this as well. She used the word safeguarding. So when you're listening to true crime, there's an impulse there to find out answers to why we don't like the unsolved stories, but also it's gaining knowledge, and it is a social knowledge, and it is a knowledge of how to recognize red flags and how to think, well, actually, your first instinct would be to go and help someone who comes and asks you for help. If you say no straight away, then you're being an asshole, whether you're a woman or not. Like, everybody wants to, most people want
you naturally, instinctually want to help people.
So sure. What can I do? But I think it gives you just that second of being like,
a pause.
Yeah, like, so you want me to help you, but there's no one else around. So I'm going to say no this time, because it is okay to say no.
Yeah.
Somebody else will come along and help. The other catchphrase from My Favourite Murder is stay sexy and don't get murdered, which is interesting in lots and lots of ways. And it sounds a bit like the responsibility to not get murdered is on the woman, but it's not. It's a really interesting phrase, and I won't go into it again in too much detail because I've already talked about it, but it's another good one, and I quite like. It just pops into my head every now and again, and I'm always like, yeah, I like that. It's just really good fun. But fuck politeness is genius.
Yeah.
Is absolute genius.
Especially because the badge I got her is 2 little hands, like with their middle fingers up.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So that brings me to the end of the questions that I had pre-prepared. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about? Anything you want to revisit, or anything that you want to ask me? Be careful with that one.
I was going to ask you, because obviously with this with this research you're doing, you know, it's quite unique in the way that I think scholars get kind of set in their thing that they do. So like, you know, I look at films, I look at television, I look at games. And what you're doing is quite unique in that you're being, what would be the word? I was going to say intermediary, but that's not a word, or it's not the word, and it's not a word. So you're looking at different forms of media. And I think that's quite unique, especially like in book form. You know, let's look at podcasts, let's look at comic books, let's look at all of this different stuff. Do you think true crime, and you can take this however you want, you can take it to mean kind of purpose or style or intention, like intention and purpose is the same thing, you know what I mean? Does it change significantly from format to format, media form to media form, do you think? Are there some forms that are more suited to it? Yeah,
so well, let's go back to the tedium of trying to learn about documentary filmmaking.
Let's not.
I've been really fast. The documentary is inherently educational. So
sober discourse.
Oh yes, and we don't laugh.
We don't do any of that
smile,
fluffy stuff over here.
Have fun. And
why have we both started doing this accent?
I don't know. That's just the imaginary documentary filmmaker in his head.
It's an old British man.
He looks like that. It's an old British man, and he's got
with really big eyebrows.
Yeah. He's got a pipe as well.
Yep.
Or he drinks tea out of a bone china mug. You know him. Anyway,
I know him. Yeah.
So the documentary is inherently educational. So it's trying to tell you a story from an educational perspective. Documentaries, you know, that it's not fact. You know all this, but it is still narrativized to an extent, but it has a more educational impulse. You can argue against that when you consider the documentary on Netflix, when you compare it to, say, a documentary on the BBC. The BBC will always be more educational because they have to.
Yeah.
Netflix are making a documentary, they have a commercial impulse behind it. So while it is educational somewhere in there, there's a nugget in there, they're doing it to get and maintain subscribers. And to entertain, and they want you to keep paying your monthly fee. So there's another reason for why they're telling you the story. So it will have that slightly more glossy, sensationalist aspect to it, like we saw with the Tapes series. And then if you move over to podcasts, because they're away from regulation and they're away from big media companies, their intention to tell the true crime story is, it's usually, lots of it is stories that they already know. So particularly when they're doing the heavy hitters, the big hitters, your Dahmers, your Bundys, they're telling it to take the piss out of them and to tear them down. And I think that's particularly useful with regards to the question, you know, what's changed and what do we learn from true crime content? We're learning that we can claim some power back from these people by laughing at them and being like, you're not as scary as you think. You're actually an asshole.
To not have them as like the boogeyman.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things going on, and there's all sorts of contexts and cultures and reasons for why these things happen. But if on a podcast you've got 3 comedians tearing them a new one, then it removes any of their power. And I think that's really interesting, and that changes the purpose or the impulse of telling that story, because it's like, rather than like, oh my God, look at what this happened, it was all really terrible and really tragic, it's fucking, look at this dickhead, he thought he could get away with this.
Look at Billy bullshit over here. So I guess it kind of like democratizes people's ability to engage with it and to talk about it.
Yeah. And we're hearing, you know, people telling the story from different perspectives, which we are seeing in the big stuff like Falling for a Killer, but we're also hearing voices that don't usually get a place in legacy media. So people of colour, LGBTQ plus communities, those people telling the story from their perspective. So if you've got the Dharma story, we know the story, head in the fridge, all that kind of stuff. But when it's told from the perspective of a gay man, we're somewhere different and we're telling a different tale. And that's very, very, you know, in the question that, you know, what does true crime offer to us? I think
it's starting to offer different perspectives on stuff.
we're hearing people that have never been heard. And
Yeah.
that is always, whether you're in true crime or politics or gender studies or any of those things,
It's
that will always be
always
useful.
always
and
good, always
needed.
welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. So that it sort of pivots around, you know, somebody's deplorable actions, that's kind of getting into the weeds of a different debate of, you know, is it good, is it bad, you know, should true crime exist at all, you know, all those things, which not really questions that I'm trying to get into, because I'm kind of edging around talking about true crime communities and true crime fans, but I'm not a fan studies scholar.
Yeah.
And there are other people that do that much better than me. Bethan Jones, for example. Bethan's work is brilliant in terms, because she's looking at like the dark fandoms and forensic fandoms, and it's fascinating. So go and find Bethan's work on that. And I will be using bits of Bethan's stuff in mine, because she's already done it, and she's done it much better than I could ever do it, or ever want to do it. Because I think, I can't engage with fan stuff too much, because I just get too mad at the absolute crap that people say online. Can't be asked.
Stella's heart rate would not take this. She would start having palpitations. She'd drive around people's houses and she'd kill them, and then we'd be studying Stella.
Ah, wow. You know.
Oh, wow. That could make a good movie.
Good of it. It's not going to happen. I mean, you know, writing a book is stressful, so.
You never know.
Never say never. That's what I say.
You never know. It's never too late. Never too late to go on a killing spree.
Never too late.
That's what I say.
Dreams.
Dream, believe, achieve.
What's that?
I don't know. Oh. I just thought of it.
I thought it was a real thing.
I think it might be. I must have heard it somewhere. I'm not that smart to come up with that on my own.
So you're not that person.
I'm not.
Where did she come from?
Live, laugh, love.
Don't say that.
Live, laugh, toast above.
Okay, I think that brings us to the end of our conversation, because, like I said, we've stopped making sense. We've descended into madness. So I'd like to thank everybody for listening, and thank you, Shellie, for joining me today. That was a good laugh. I'll be bringing you back. This isn't the end of our nonsense. Do follow the Murder Media podcast, Murder Media 81, in all the usual social media places. You don't need me to say it again. And the email is murdermedia81@gmail.com. As I said, I'll link Shelley's book in the show notes, and I'll also link Shelley's article on American Horror Story. Do join me next week for an episode where I don't know what I'm doing yet. Do I? No, I don't. Who knows what's going on next week? I'll figure it out. It's going to be me. It's going to be me. I don't have a guest plan for next week. It'll just be me, and I'm not sure what I'm saying yet, but I promise it will be.
Not about Ted Bundy.
I can't promise that. Why would you?
Sorry.
Anyway, I'll speak to you all next week. Goodbye.
Bye.